So, last video I said this. However, do not fret, I still got more content coming. And one of those videos that you could expect to be coming should be coming shortly after this one right here that you're currently watching. And yeah, so that video never came. And it was supposed to. I actually went, I was recording it. Let's just say that a lot went wrong. Oh, fuck. During the recording of that.
Oh my god.
And yeah, that video never got fully recorded or completed. Just it went bad. I had to scrap that. But we're back now with another video and with some good news. Multiple other videos. And I mean it this time. It's not going to be just like last video where they all have to get scrapped. No, I mean they're already recorded. Anyway, welcome back to another video, everybody. Today we're doing another tier list. Today we're going to be putting the logos of some of the top esports orgs to the test. And we're going to be comparing them, and we're going to be seeing who has some top-notch marketing and some top-notch branding. Now, there are a lot of esports orgs. There's a lot of esports orgs that are also really big. And honestly, if I was going to try to throw all of them in this video would be way too long. So I threw in like a good chunk of the popular ones. And then if you guys want to see a part 2, we can make a part 2. And for any esports orgs that are watching this, if you're looking for a content creator, I am very much available to get signed. Hi. Anyway, without further ado, let's not waste any time. Let's get right into this tier list. So we have here our 5 categories. We have God tier, which are the most legendary logos ever. Design-wise, they are like fantastic. They're formed very well. Solid means that they are pretty damn good. Maybe not God tier, maybe a few extra little details would help them better, but they are good logos. Then we have decent, which means, you know, they're okay. They have their positives, but honestly, there could be more. Then we have which is just And then we have bland, which it's pretty straightforward. It doesn't translate well. It's just boring and needs a lot. So to start off, we have 100 Thieves. Very big esports org that's also known for its content creators. And 100 Thieves, this is their insignia. So obviously, like if you look at most of their branding, it's the full words 100 Thieves, usually with 100 being in black and Thieves being in red. But it's the same font as this insignia you see here. We're going to go mostly with these insignias just because this is typically what you'll find on the pro players' jerseys. Style-wise, the fact that they go for like a messy, like almost like it's been painted with like a paintbrush or maybe loosely drawn with like a pencil, like that like rugged look, right? It gives it this nice aesthetic. If anything, it actually kind of makes it look like your classic like X marks the spot. Like if you look at those pirate maps or like pirate writing and like on the maps you got the big X, it looks just like that. Like the ink is just kind of splattered as they were writing. That's what it looks like. I would say purely for like the font choice and the fact that it kind of does have that, you know, pirate map writing-esque vibe with the simplicity of just 2 colors. I think I'm gonna go ahead and put 100 Thieves in solid. I think it's fairly solid. It's really good branding. So I decided to go back and look at the full 100 Thieves logo, not just the insignia. And if you look at it, the eye does have the X over it. So I was right. It's definitely, that's the vibe that it's trying to give. So actually I'm gonna throw 100 Thieves in God tier. That's creative as hell. I like it. Next up we have Team Envy. It is Team Envy as in ENVY. So, you know, envy as in like one of the 7 deadly sins or whatever. But their logo, as you can tell, not only looks like a full N that's split in half, when you look very closely, the bottom of that split is the N and the top is the V. It doesn't spell out the full word envy, but it's supposed to look like the letters N and V, but then the whole thing put together is the letter N. Honestly, I think it's really creative. It's not much, it's super subtle, but it's very creative. I also think that, you know, the more subtle the branding, the better it looks on like jerseys and merch and stuff. But this is good. I'm gonna throw it in solid just because I feel like maybe, you know, there could be a little bit more I'd have to do a little bit more thinking to see what else I'd probably do to it. Maybe it's more of just adding a color, but just purely design wise, it's very good. Next up, we have G2 Esports. Now, their logo is that of kind of like a samurai with like the G and the 2 being like looking like real sharp and acting kind of like as the face of the samurai with like the little eye in the 2, which I think it looks really aesthetically pleasing and it's really cool. And then the jerseys look awesome. The branding is really dope. I tried seeing like why that came up, like why the samurai. Couldn't find anything. It's like complex enough of a design where you can tell it's a samurai, but it's also very simple where it's not like over the top on the details. Honestly, I think G2's logo, especially with the little hint of the eye color, just like the little bit of orange that pulls through, or maybe it's like red or like scarlet, that is like a really, really cool little detail. Like it's the subtleties, you know, that can make or break something. I'm gonna put G2's logo probably in solid, just because I don't know why they chose the samurai and I want more information. Next up, we have Team Liquid. Now, I know there's quite a few of you that are confused as to why it's called Team Liquid and why their logo is a horse. And I was confused too. And luckily, unlike G2, I was able to find some information on Team Liquid's logo. Back in 2001, they had a banner. They had a bunch of horses running through snow with the name Team Liquid under it. According to the founders, it was pretty much nothing more than they thought that the horse running through snow looked cool. Granted, they were trying to look for a picture of horses running through water, but it was 2001 and, well, internet searches didn't really help much back then. And so they just stuck with it. They just stuck with the horse. And honestly, it works. Apparently, the original logo from a few years ago, probably like a decade or so ago, had 7 stripes on the mane. The current one has 6. Very subtle design choice, but honestly, when I look at the logo that has the 7 and then the current one that has the 6, that small subtlety does help. It kind of spaces out like the little sections of the mane a little bit better to have less of the black stripes. So, I mean, you know, it works for me. I like it. I'm definitely throwing Team Liquid in solid, 100%. Team Liquid that's solid. Actually, you know what? No, I'm putting it in God tier just because it's different. You know, it's completely different. I like it. Next up, we have NRG, and yeah, I don't know. The reality is that I'm gonna have to throw it in bland because it's literally just the 3 letters NRG. If you look at like their older logos, where like you look at like the one where it was like all like sharp and stuff, that version of their logo would probably get thrown in just because it looked a little wonky. Then you have the version of the NRG logo where it has like kind of like the globe around it, which is I'd probably throw that in decent. But then just having the 3 letters NRG, it's efficient, you know, it is efficient. And when you think of NRG, I mean, like, what else could you possibly put? Granted, it does sound like energy, so, you know, maybe you could kind of push somewhere in that direction. It's a simplistic logo. I'm not saying it's bad, but since I'm doing these strictly based on design, it's not like it really leaves me with much to work with. So, sorry, NRG. Next up, we have Space Station. When I was like kind of looking at these logos for this video, I did notice a subtlety with Space Station's logo that I hadn't even noticed before somehow. So obviously it's in the shape of an astronaut's helmet, right? But when you look at it, like obviously astronauts have like little microphones so they could talk to each other when they're like doing a spacewalk. So it makes sense that this astronaut does too. And he also has like the little antenna sticking up. So, you know, it's an astronaut. But, you know, think of gamers too. Why do you think that the astronaut's helmet's a little bit wider on the ears? Because those are supposed to be headphones. The mic is also supposed to be part of the headphones. And then when you look at the visor, it's in the shape of an old classic Nintendo controller. And then the stars that are shining in the visor that are reflecting off the visor are also acting as the buttons on the controller. This is amazing. I have to say, this is fantastic. Yeah, Space Station is 100% going in God tier. That logo is fantastic. Jerseys look good. SSG Senestin sounds great. Next up, we have Astralis, which some North American people probably have not heard of. It is a Danish esports org. And, you know, Astralis, when you hear it, Astro, space. You know, another space-related thing, star. It's really cool how they have the white star, the empty space in the middle, which obviously gives, like, the shape, and more of the shape when you look at like the top of the red star. So it makes it obviously look more like an A, and then you have like the actual big red star with the slash down the bottom. I am not fully sure what the purpose of that slash was, but for some reason, design wise, it just works. It gives it like an extra, like, just, I don't know, like it's a subtle little design cue, and it looks cool because of it. It's like these extra sharp edges that you won't typically find in a star. And just to try to make it look a little bit different, I think it's very functional. I'm gonna give it a solid because it's just very aesthetically pleasing. It's simple, but it is effective. Next up, we have Complexity, another star. This one resembles the Dallas Cowboys a lot, which is funny because I'm pretty sure Complexity is headquartered in Texas, so it makes sense. Complexity's logo, it's not like it's all that complex. It has those two little cutouts of the star on the left side, but it's not like it's anything all too nuts. I would say that I'm gonna put this in decent. It's not a bad logo at all, and you know, aesthetically for merch and jerseys, it's very good. You know, you want something a lot simpler for that kind of thing, so it makes sense, but it's not like it's anything too special. Next up, we have Cloud9. Now, I like Cloud9's logo. This is where we can kind of do a little bit of comparison with Complexities, for example. Complexities is quite literally just a star. It looks like you could take your basic blue, navy blue star JPEG, go into Adobe Illustrator, and just tweak it around a little bit. You know, it's not like you do anything all that crazy. You can make another star, cut it out of the big one, and then just make two little line cutouts. It's not like it's anything too nuts. You could probably make that in about 5 minutes. Now, I'm not saying that Cloud9's is exactly difficult, but it is taking simplicity and making it a tad bit more creative. You look at the logo and you might not notice this right away, but there is a gradient. The left side of the Cloud9 logo is brighter than the right side, which resembles a cloud a lot. If you look up at clouds, there's always a part of the cloud that's darker and a part of the cloud that is lighter, because of the fact that the sun is pointing at them, and there's always going to be one side of the cloud that is not pointing towards the sun. Usually, of course, that's the bottom of the cloud, but my point still stands. But then the shape of the logo, the fact that it just looks like it's one nice, like half, almost like a half infinity swoop on the bottom with like a little extra sticking out the top, like it all looks like one nice solid piece that just flows very well. Remember, clouds are gas. So like liquids, they can just flow and form to whatever area they're in, but they flow more freely. And I feel like the little loops help to translate that. It's a free-flowing, ever-moving entity. Cloud9's logo is great. I really do like it. Design-wise, again, simplicity works if you do it right. And just the subtle details, even of like that gradient with the going from the light to the dark, emphasizing the shadows of a cloud, that is very well done. 100%, I'm putting Cloud9's in God tier. I like Cloud9's a lot. Next up, we have Evil Geniuses. I looked up Evil Geniuses' older logo, and it was more boring, but it translated about the same thing. When you look at Evil Geniuses' logo, you notice that the whole thing kind of looks like the letter G. But there's a split down the middle, and this is kind of where you have a similar situation going on as Team Envy. So with this logo, we can see almost immediately what they're trying to do, right? The whole thing looks like the letter G, for just if you want to shorten it to Geniuses, but each half looks like each letter. Adding the two extra like little slanted spikes on the top and the bottom also just kind of give it like that thorn, like that evil look almost. When you look at their older logo, when for some reason it was tilted on this weird slant and then there was like no spikes whatsoever, it still had the whole EG looking thing, but just, you know, that extra little detail was missing, and I think they finally got it with this one. I'm not saying it's crazy, I'm not saying it's up there with like super levels of creativity, but I like it, and I'm putting it in solid. Next up, we have FaZe Clan. And when you look at FaZe Clan's logo, immediately you think it's just this weird, distorted, large letter F. And then I was finally explained to what it's supposed to be. The left side is the letter F, and the right side is supposed to be the letter C. Obviously, that can be a little bit confusing with the spike at the bottom. The whole thing is supposed to look like the letter F, because typically you just shorten everything to FaZe. You don't usually always say FaZe Clan, you just say FaZe. But you also want to make sure that the clan part is like mentioned in there. In all, I think that, it's a very creative approach to it. And although it can be slightly confusing to a lot of people when they first look at it, or they might not fully understand that that's an F and a C, it does work design-wise. I'm throwing it in God tier just because of that design choice. They managed to fit the F on the left side, the C on the right side to make FaZe Clan, but still managed to make the whole thing look like the letter F for FaZe. Like, that right there is a nice little feat that was done. All right, next on the list is Fnatic. And some people probably haven't heard of Fnatic because I do have a lot of American viewers, but Fnatic is a European esports organization. And I was extremely confused when looking at Fnatic's logo because it doesn't have absolutely anything in it that looks like Fnatic whatsoever. So naturally, I had to do some research. What's going on with Fnatic's logo? And when I tell you that this logo is actually pretty dope, I mean it. According to Fnatic themselves, if you take those three icons, those three symbols that you have in their logo, and put them together however you have to, you can make each letter of the name Fnatic. Try it yourselves. It's actually pretty interesting. Purely because of that, and because it's still, aesthetically pleasing, I'm 100% throwing that in God tier. The story, the fact that they came up with that and still made a logo that looks good, I gotta give it to them. You have to remember that when it comes to design, the story behind something is going to help it tremendously. People tend to forget that as a designer, you have to have a purpose. You cannot just design something on a whim, out of nowhere, pulling it out of your ass with no purpose. When you design something, there needs to be a purpose. Designs with a purpose, with a true purpose that sets them apart from other designs, are designs that will last lifetimes. That's why Fnatic's logo goes in God tier. Next up, we have Genji. See, it's straightforward, You have the two G's for Genji that are mirrored of each other. One in gold, one in black. Looks kind of like a shield shape. And then you have the name Genji on top with like a little slant. Now, I'm not saying it's bad. It's pretty solid, okay? It works. But I'm not gonna say it's all that crazy. It's not creative. It's not anything different. It's not anything interesting. It's just, it's straightforward and to the point, which is fine. For that, I'm gonna put Genji's in decent. It works. It does what it has to, but that's about it. Next on the list, we have T1, which is a South Korean esports org, which is also very popular for its League of Legends team. T1, they had their older logo. I forgot when they retired that. It wasn't too long ago. But this newer one is definitely more aesthetically pleasing. Now, I'm not fully sure where the wing comes from, like what is the inspiration behind that. I tried looking something up about it. Couldn't find anything. It is a very nice logo. The wing, it helps give it like this aerodynamic, like we're moving forward kind of vibe. And I really do like it. I think it looks very aesthetically pleasing. I would say that although technically it is simplistic, I would say it's a little bit more complex, or at least has a little more element than some of these other logos. But it works, it works well. And I'm going to throw it into solid, because I think it's a fairly solid logo. Next on the list, we have Natus Vincer, also known as Navi, which is a European esports org. Navi's logo is actually fairly clever, I would say. It uses the lines of previous letters to build onto the letters that follow. So if you look at the N, for example, the last line of the N is also the first line of the A. If you look at the last line of the A, it's the first line of the V. They build on each other very well in this geometric pattern with all these just geometric, sharp edge, straight line shapes. I really like Navi's logo, honestly. I think that, you know, it plays around with the shapes very well. It looks nice. I'm throwing it in solid 100%. Next up, we have OG Esports, and their logo is, the thing is that it's not really all that interesting. The whole thing is housed in a blue hexagon with the Red Bull logo, which I'm assuming is obviously going to be one of their sponsors, at the top, and then just a very geometric looking O and G at the bottom. I'm not going to say it's as bland as NRG's because it does have, I guess, a little bit of extra detail, being the fact that at least it has maybe some color in there. The Red Bull logo does not really help the design. It just kind of makes it look a little weird. It's definitely not on the level of complexities in Genji's. I would definitely say that even though those are simplistic, they translate better, in my opinion. So I'm going to throw OG at because, there's more that could be done with it. Next up, we have Optic Gaming. Now, Optic, they are legends when it comes to the gaming scene, the esports scene. And, their logo is, it's not like it's all that complex. But, there are subtle details to it. When you look at the O for Optic, it's supposed to look like an optic. Almost kind of like, like goggles, like one of the lenses of like a goggle. If that was their intention, not sure. But it's there anyway. How it loops with the G isn't necessarily, I wouldn't say it's anything like crazy revolutionary. It's not like it's anything crazy, just different. But it works, and that blend with the colors of black and green, it works. Again, I'm not sure if their intention was for the O to look like the lens or like an optic, but it's there. And just knowing that, or at least assuming that that's what it is, puts it into solid for me, definitely. Second to last on our list is Sentinels. Sentinels has been really popular in the North American scene, not even really just in esports, but like just, like a little bit in like the content creation realm. But like even people outside of like the esports scene get probably heard of Sentinels at least sometime in the last year because of their Valorant team. You probably wouldn't be able to figure it out right away how this translates to Sentinels. But I mean, if you look at it, think maybe chestplate, it looks probably like a piece of armor or like some kind of like high-tech shape. That's the thing with a lot of like shapes that like involve like high-tech or futuristic or like maybe like, technology. They're usually very geometric shapes. They're not very fluid. This kind of looks like it could be some kind of like power chestplate or something with like the top hexagon being kind of like, like a centerpiece, almost like a power core almost. So Sentinels, armored sentinel kind of thing, it works. So for being different and for not even like throwing in like the S for Sentinels or anything, just being different, Sentinels 100% goes in solid. That's a very cool logo. I like it. And I just like that it decides to be different. Lastly, we have TSM. When you think about it, it's nothing crazy, right? It's the T acting also as the circle, wrapping around the S and the M. Aesthetically, it's pretty good. It works fantastically on merch, on papers, on jerseys, whatever you can think of. It works well. The little creativity of using the T as the circle for the logo and then also just having it as like the rod down the middle, splitting the S and the M, it's nice. I'm not saying that it's not creative. I'm just saying that, it's not like it takes a lot of thinking to really get it there. So I'm going to throw TSM in decent because, it's not a bad logo. It's far from being as just boring as NRG's. Or, it's got a little bit more flair than OG's, but I wouldn't put it up there with, like, say, the creativity of Sentinels or, like the way that the letters work with Navi. Well, that was all of them. I hope you guys did not get offended by any of my choices, but remember that this is purely based on the design of these logos. This has nothing to do with what I think about any of these orgs or their teams, because in reality, I'd be extremely grateful if any of them decided that they would like to sign good old Senestin as a content creator. That'd be fantastic. You know what? I'd even take, like another job, maybe like a social media manager or, social media intern. This YouTube channel is my resume. Just don't look at my older videos, please. Anyway, I hope you guys did enjoy this video. If you did, drop a like, subscribe, turn on the post notifications. We're going to have a lot more content coming out, and you're not going to want to miss it. Trust me. Make sure to follow me on all my socials, my Twitter, my Instagram, my TikTok, my Twitch. I stream sometimes. And then subscribe to my second channel if you want to see me post a lot of random stuff. Like if it's not design related, I'm probably going to throw it on there. I might start making like, at some point I might start making like full length videos, kind of like these, just not design related on there. Right now it's just a bunch of other random stuff, but you know, go subscribe. You know, I might post stuff there soon. And I hope that wherever you guys are, whenever you guys are watching this video, that you have a great and wonderful day. I will see you guys in the next video. Peace out.
My brother love me, yeah. We all get money, yeah, yeah, yeah. I love my brother.